Hello and welcome to Bespoke Unit. My name's Paul Anthony.
And I'm CP.
And today we're reviewing the top 5 fall fragrances of 2018. So Charles Philippe, this is the top 5 fall fragrances as determined by our Bespoke Unit fragrance formula, mainly tested by you, some of them that I have tested as well. So without further ado, let's just dive in for these guys.
Well, number 1, let's talk about this all-time favorite of Paul's. It is our number 1 top full fragrance, but currently our number 1 all-time fragrances. See the link below, you'll see our page on Bespoke Unit covering that. It is a very resinous and very dark and very oily fragrance with notes of petit, argyle and labdanum, which creates a lovely, the argyle and labdanum creates this lovely leathery base. I think it's a firm favourite of yours. Would you like to?
Oh, most definitely is. This is my all-time top fragrance at the moment. So, I mean, things change, but you know, when this first came out, I was like, I think this was what probably cracked me into getting into fragrances, because I've always liked fragrances. I've always got them at Christmases and birthdays, but you know, when I started buying fragrances myself, this was one of the first ones I did. I think just based off an advertisement in a magazine, and I got it at Heathrow Airport, and it was just like, whoa. Oh wow! This is just something so different. EDP strength, just unique smell to me at the time for sure, and I still think it is pretty unique. It's definitely a breakaway from now I know what Dunhill was doing previously. Yeah, I think it's a great all-round fragrance, great fall fragrance. I think it works well all year round in the evening, but I think it enters that daytime realm during the fall, basically. So
absolutely.
For most people, for me, I wear it all the time.
It's great value for money as well, and you can wear it for pretty much every occasion, from the office to...
Oh yeah, 100 mil. I mean, retail is like up in the $100 range, but you can definitely get it in the 40 range, which for an EDP, pretty much unheard of.
Yeah, that's excellent, really excellent.
Yeah, so moving on.
Number 2.
Fragrance that I initially hated, for sight unseen when I got into the fragrance community, but now love it, and I know it's one of your all-time favorites.
For me, as I said in my written review, which you can read in the description below, or a link to in the description below, I didn't put the full review there, it is an olfactory masterpiece. This is an absolute belter of a fragrance. This is the Eau de Toilette. You can get the Eau de Parfum as well, which is just as good, if not better. But this, what do we have? I say grapefruit, and you say...
I say orange,
yeah,
like maybe blood orange. Yeah, it's like,
it's kind of really strong, not overwhelming. It's like
it's not overwhelming, but it's thick.
Yeah,
this is what I try and like. This is what I struggle with describing the fragrance, and I find it with Dunhill Icon as well. A lot of fragrances I think are very light in the air. But these are powerful in a way where the smell like engulfs you.
Yeah, it's
but without being
oily.
Oh, as you say, overpowering basically.
Exactly.
You know, so.
And other sort of key notes, I mean, there's a lot going on in here, and I recommend you see the full review if you're more interested to learn more. But there's patchouli and cedar, which really brings out for me this kind of sensation of this Mediterranean sunset during the fall. These very golden colors, very orange with the citrus. It's not kind of light green or yellow, so it is a very intense autumnal fragrance.
Yeah, and if you wanted to step back from this, in our summer best fragrance reviews, we had Aqua de Palm Cedro, which is kind of a, if this is too much for you and you're new to fragrances, or this is you're not new to fragrances and this is too much, you may want to step back a notch, check that one out, which may be a more fall appropriate fragrance, Aqua de Palm Cedro. So that would be a kind of a not a watered down version, but a different take on the same vibe.
Oh yeah, it's a different composition, but you do have these cedar and citrus themes between the two, so they do share. They do have a lot in common.
And then I suppose jumping a season forward, you have the cedar from Opus by Penhaligon's as well.
Exactly.
If we wanted to tie that together. But moving on, number 3.
Well, this is a recent addition to my collection, which I absolutely love. At first I was a bit unsure. It was released originally in 2014, and then in 2016 they did the Eau de Parfum, which is very different. It's from Guerlain, which is a historical French house, and they regularly, instead of just releasing an Eau de Parfum in different concentrations, they actually redo the fragrance and revise it to see really how they can optimize it even further. In terms of notes, we have this kind of almond amaretto opening, which goes really well with these kind of earthy, dead leaf sort of season that you're getting, as well as tonka bean and birch tart in the base, which creates this very leathery and almost sort of sweet and intoxicating vanilla-y base as well.
Where Shoal's hitting that kind of sweetness, I'm also getting a touch of cherry. So our skin reacts very differently to different fragrances. I don't think that's anything that you necessarily pulled out of this, and maybe I'm just crazy.
That.
But you know, with our third-party feedback, we did have a few other people note that as well. So what time of day on this one? Now,
this one for me is very much an evening fragrance. I wouldn't wear this during the daytime. I'd say more during the night. As the nights are starting to draw in, it's a great option that can be worn casually, but also perhaps for dates and formally. Not for the office though. This is probably a little bit too overwhelming if you're sharing tight spaces.
So we've gone designer boutique-y, kind of boutique-y fragrances, and this is 100% designer.
Yeah.
So, and with that, is reality going to be more accessible most likely, and this is what we're getting here.
Oh yeah. Now, Hugo Boss Bottle is a very interesting fragrance. I wore it when first wore it when I was 18 at college or university. But it can be worn as well, even throughout your 30s, throughout your 40s. It's a very all-encompassing, versatile fragrance that can be worn casually or at the office. What's very interesting about this is how it is almost like a tableau. It's really a picturesque, characteristic representation of the fall. You open on these apple and plum notes with a hint of cinnamon, so you really start to feel this harvest that's happening. You have this kind of fruit basket or apple pie. You were saying that in the US particularly, this is something that
I mean in the fall season, I mean it's very popular over here to have you know, apple cider with cinnamon. Yeah, it definitely. It's kind of strange because the bottle doesn't give you that impression. Not at all. You know, I get a lot of green apple in this one, but with that cinnamon, it definitely drives it straight back into fall. So,
yeah, exactly.
which is great. So, time of day, very versatile, very non-offensive, more an office fragrance. I mean, new to fragrances, and you're only looking for a couple of fragrances in your collection, and you're starting to think about seasonality, starting to think about occasion, starting to think about those sort of things in fragrance. This is probably a good one for you. If you're looking to flex your olfactory muscle and get a bit more intense, then these are probably better. Which flexing those muscles at number 5. This is what this studio smells like, as our cameraman for the day, Trevor Gilday, who you may have seen in front of the camera a few times, decided to have a little, well, 2 sprays is one too many for this fragrance. So.
All we can smell right now in the studio is kind of overwhelming, and since the beginning of this video, so it was actually quite a distraction.
I sprayed some on the back of my hand and smelled it and decided to cough because it just was it's intense.
It's intense. Does it need an introduction? Probably not. But,
well, give the when it was made and who it was made for, and then that's going to get you.
So it comes from the 60s. I can't remember the precise year, but it was definitely early 60s. And it was Aramis by Estée Lauder. It was the first men's fragrance to be sold in department stores only, and this was at Macy's, New York. And then the following year, it was also made available at Harrods in London. It's gone on to be a very iconic fragrance that represents the late 60s and 1970s with a very leathery sheep identity. And you could argue in some cases that it's a little bit dated, but some people love this retro vibe.
I think this is what really makes this top 5 special and what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to give people, you know, a nice, varied, easy access, something that's a little bit more kind of approachable over the whole year, some more boutique stuff you've never heard of, you know, and obviously an absolute monster in the fragrance community, and this, which is ultimately, as you say, dated, but there is a strong contingent of people that are getting back into these retro fragrances. So I think it definitely belongs here. It's accessible with regards to price point. It suits, you know, young people that are into that retro stuff. It suits older guys that are into that retro stuff. So why not have it on top 5 and let the people decide?
And it's so inexpensive. If you're really passionate about fragrances, you have to have it in your collection because it really does represent a key moment in men's fragrance history.
Sure. So with that being said, Would love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments in the comment section below. We're always very interested to hear from more seasons buffs than we maybe are in the fragrance community, and any newbies out there as well. We hope that this top 5 has opened your eyes to some different fragrances you may be willing to try this year. As always, please like these videos and
smash that subscribe button.
My name's Paul Anthony.
I'm CP.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care.